Well, it is 1 minute to the hour, but you know what? I couldn't wait any longer to start the show. So excited that you're joining us here, whether you're going to watch it live with us now or you're going to watch it later. My name is Carl Krebs. This is Things That Matter. And this podcast on Monday is devoted to Money Maker. What is a money maker? How do you make money? What are the things that make you money? And how can you make money? And I have a fantastic guest on with me tonight. So without further ado, let's get it started. Well, it is Monday, May 5th, and it's another episode of Money Makers. My name is Carl Krebs, and I'm glad you've decided to join us, whether you're going to watch it with us live now or you're going to watch it later. But as I said a while ago, the purpose of starting this podcast, Money Maker, is to identify the need that exists right now, possibly more than ever before. How do we make the ends meet? How do you deal with too much month left at the end of your money? And today, in this world, we're all facing that challenge. And I don't have the answers, but I got some clues for you. And it's my intention to bring guests on the show that are going to provide us with some of those clues. How can we do this? You know, I was going back in my mind. My father immigrated from Germany in 1954. He was an ambitious young man. He came with very little money, but he had a pocket full of dreams and ambitions. And he came here and he began a life. And my father eventually found his way to Winnipeg, Manitoba, which is where I was born and raised. And the things that I remember about my father will be with me forever. He was a hardworking man. My dad, for the majority of his life, was a milkman. Now, that sounds like something you maybe never even heard of, but my father was a door-to-door milkman, delivering milk to people at their homes. And I quickly knew as a young kid growing up how hard my dad worked, because not only would he work the hours that he was required to work for his job, he would work other hours, days off. He would spend doing second jobs to earn more money for his family. See, my father wanted to give his family the best life that we could afford. But back then, people didn't earn the kind of money they do today. And even the money we're earning today doesn't seem to be enough. And so today we look at, in this world, the economy, the economics just don't line up. We look at the cost of housing, which is outstripping earnings. We look at people that are working harder for the same money that they've been earning years ago. I have a background in trucking, and I kept accurate records, and I could see that my trucking income was not keeping pace with the costs of operations as an owner-operator. And I looked at that and I said, this is not going well. This will end up in a narrow, dead-end street. And so what I wanted to say to you is some of the things that I've learned, some of the things that have been shared to me about how can I earn money? How can I leverage my time? How can I earn money when I'm sleeping? Is that even possible? And so in this episode, we're going to continue to talk about how we leverage our time. And joining me today is a friend of mine, a colleague in the same company that I'm with, and he has introduced me years ago to a company called LifeWave. But before we get into that, I want to talk with Pete Redekop, and I'm going to ask Pete to open up his camera, and there he is. Thank you, Pete, for joining me on this broadcast here, May 5th. And you came to mind because when we first met in 2021, I believe, you told me about your pathway that put you in a position now where a job is not something you're looking for. So we're going to go back to 1992. I think this is so cool. I didn't realize it goes that far back. But tell me the journey. Tell me the day when the penny dropped for you.
All right. Hello, Carl, and hello to your audience, whether they're tuning in live or whether this is via a replay on some platform. My name is Pete Redekop, and I'm broadcasting from Playa del Carmen, Mexico. It's great to live wherever you desire to live. And Carl's been down here to visit as well. But we're going to rewind today, and we're going to go back and even further than 1992. And I just want to share something about my early 20s. I'm like Carl. I was very entrepreneurial. I had an entrepreneurial mind, and I knew job meant just over broke. And I was experiencing that. I was a father of 2 children back then, and I learned about the power of network marketing. And I had no clue how fascinating this industry was until I had a mentor. I had someone who taught me the basic ropes. And I knew until the day I would learn how to make money while I sleep that I would be at a job just over broke. And it was 1990 that I had my first introduction to network marketing. And, I went door to door. I did the unthinkable things that most people today wouldn't dream of doing. But I was motivated, and I really wanted to get out of that condition that I was in, this job scenario where the paycheck was always just barely reaching to the end of the month, and you were completely broke. And I said, there has to be a better way. I need a raise. And my boss at the time said, no raise was available. Well, I started network marketing very early in my the 20s, young in 20s. And you know what? I was ambitious. And I sat out there and I started knocking doors and doing different things just to get ahead of the pack. And what was so amazing to me is to see this transformation happen in my life, where things gradually started picking up, and the size of my paycheck from my part-time endeavor was exceeding my full-time job, where I was employed in Winkler, Manitoba. And this was 1992. I had invested some time, some energy, read some books, attended some meetings, and I realized what a thriving industry this was. And I'm still with that company to this date. But we're not here today to speak about any particular company. I mean, yes, as Carl mentioned, we're both in an amazing company called LifeWave, and we absolutely love what it does. But aside from that, I want to share a few pointers with you that were really, really powerful for me. Now, I didn't have much of an education. My parents traveled all the time, and we were living in a tour bus. My parents were musicians, and we traveled back and forth, Mexico, Canada, and during this time, I realized that something that my parents were doing was different, and I didn't want to do what they did. I didn't want to just trade X amount of hours for X amount of dollars, because I had a mortgage, I had a car payment, I had children to feed. There was just no way I could see the ends meeting, and I couldn't see a way to get ahead. So it finally came to the point where, from my own efforts, Carl, that I saw this leveraging starting to happen in my life. And I was finally able to say to my boss in Winkler, Manitoba, that I was going to fire him. I had 2 weeks. I gave him 2 weeks notice, and that I was going to go full time into network marketing. Now my coworkers laughed.
So yeah, your coworkers were obviously skeptical. They thought you'd lost your mind. But we're not advocating that you just drop everything and run to something else. There's a transition that has to happen. And I know it happened for you as well. And the analogy as we were speaking off camera was, remember when we were on the monkey bars at school, you'd swing from one rung to the next rung. Well, you never let go of the rung that you were on until you had a firm grasp on the rung that was in front of you, right? So I'm putting my hand on this one, I'm letting go of this one, right? So there's a transition that happens there. So speak to that, because you have so many years in this business. How did you come about that decision to make that shift?
Well, the shift has to be sensible, right? It has to make sense for you, right? Everybody's circumstance and situation is different, and the amount of money that you need to survive and make sure that there's more month than there is money. That is a gradual transition. And for me, the penny dropped when I started doing the activities and started attending the events and started investing in myself. And that was the key, investing in learning. I didn't have a college degree. I didn't have university. I didn't even have a high school diploma. So my resources were limited. But I discovered that in network marketing, it made no difference what degree you had, what kind of certification you had, that anybody, you can do this. You just have to have the willpower. And just like the day I met you, Carl, we knew of each other, but you know what? We didn't really know each other until the day I walked up to your house. We had a common interest, which is freedom, of course. And I won't go into that today, but you know what? The rung that you were talking about, it has to make sense in your life. And only you can be the judge of that and say, when do I let go of this? For me, 1992, the year that my boss wouldn't give me an extra week off for an all-expense paid vacation that I had earned with my network marketing company. And he said, no, it's too busy. You already had your 2 weeks holidays. That's all I get, 2 weeks in a year. So yeah, it has to make 100% sense for you also financially.
Yeah. You know, a lot of people dream about this. They dream about living in a place like you live, for example, or where other people live that are in our business. And I want to say it's not a pipe dream. It actually can happen. And the transition makes sense, as you said. I think that's noteworthy. But as people look at this and they dream about maybe having their own business, but you know and I know that when we look at franchise opportunities, let's talk about that for a moment. How unaffordable is that now to obtain a franchise without significant financial backing? How difficult, how expensive is it to start a business? Where's the startup capital going to come from? And what's the investment like? It's hundreds of thousands of dollars to get involved in anything. But there are businesses, and you know them, that you can start for as little as $25 and work that business. But as somebody I know, and I think you know him too, Eric Worre says, you got to be coachable, you got to be hungry, and you got to be teachable. Those are critical matters for anybody to do this. So talk about how you became that person, because here you are working for a job, working for the man, as the songs go, and suddenly you see something, you say, you know what? I can do that. I can do that.
Now, don't get me wrong, Carl. I love my boss. When I had my
He was a
last
great
boss,
guy. We both know him. Love it. His memory is still in Winkler.
Beautiful, beautiful soul. And you know what? It just wasn't making sense for me. I had to make that decision based on my lifestyle, the things that I wanted to achieve, and I saw a real shortcoming. I had zero problems working as a pressman. I had no difficulty doing the job. I was at the top of the pay scale in a very short period of time, and there was no room for another raise, and I needed to earn more money to support the lifestyle that I had. And he said the words that I didn't want to hear. No, but you know what? In that statement, Carl, he did me the hugest favor any person could have ever done, because now I had to go out on sheer will, determination, because I wasn't going to get more hours. I had to figure out a way to bring in an income to support the family, the lifestyle, the dream, the travel that I wanted to do. But I had to do it in a way that made sense. I couldn't let go of that income that I had without having something that was going to sustain itself and be there for the future. Well, network marketing is that space. Regardless, if you look at what Carl and I are going to share with you tonight, it's completely your choice. There are many wonderful companies, but one thing that has to make sense is for you. Are you happy with your current situation? Are you happy exchanging those 8-10 hours a day for that paycheck that you're receiving? That's a question that only you can answer. And for me, the choice is very simple. Sheer determination, the willpower. Get out there and make it happen. You make it or you break it. You just go out there, and it's amazing what can happen. And I know you're experiencing something similar, Carl.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and I've said before, and I'll probably say this a number of times, my public confession of having viewed multi-level marketing or direct selling, or whatever you want to call it, in a very tainted light. But what I discovered was that network marketing wasn't the problem. It was the network marketeers that I was encountering who had a lousy product or a lousy service, and they made it an excuse to have a business. And when we encounter that, or we encounter the people that are promoting it, we just get turned off by it. But let's talk about LifeWave, because 2021 was a game changer in many of our lives for many reasons. But for me, not only faced with the decision of taking a health measure into myself that I didn't want, making that choice, I advocated for natural health. And I thank God that you introduced me to a company called LifeWave. Oh my goodness, what a game changer. Talk about your experience, because how did you hear about it?
Well, first of all, let's go back to 2021 when I approached you, Carl, and it was interesting because I had heard of you and we had heard of each other, but we hadn't personally met. And I was really interested in your message at the time. You were doing YouTube channels from the cab of your truck, and I was so intrigued and I was so taken in by the message that I felt compelled to go and reach out to you. Well, for me, it was a very unique situation. Prior to me even approaching you in 2020, at the beginning of the pandemic, I was living in Belize, Central America, and coming back to Canada under the circumstances of COVID and 2 weeks in quarantine. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? I chose to spend my time during that 2 week period wisely, and that was going home, getting on a call. Here I had this brand new venture, a LifeWave health protocol, health patches that are just mind-bending in what they did for myself and my pain, the arthritis. I had already experienced that in March, but in April, when I started the marketing aspect of it, I was just blown away by the way it was perceived, and it was accepted by the people that I reached out to. And I reached out to some very high-profile people right at the very beginning, and yes, you get rejection, and that's okay. You just don't let that faze you. You move on because you already have the mentality and the conditioning that not everyone is going to be appeased or appealed by your message or whatever you're trying to sell. And I know that was the case with you, Carl, in the beginning when I approached you in 2021. I had to step out of my comfort zone and go to someone who's making YouTube videos and is well known and respected in the community and approach him. I was setting myself up for a rejection. I already knew that in the back of my mind, but part of training in this industry, it's the most amazing personal development platform you will ever experience in your lifetime, because you know what? With this platform, you almost get excited when someone says no, because you get down to a statistic, and you know once you get really good at doing whatever you're passionate about, that you will have 90% that will say no, or 95. And as you get better, that ratio reverses, Carl. Now, I was super lucky when I approached you. You had an interest right away. So that was like a huge victory for me, but you still had to do the legwork, and you still had to get out there and make it happen. So congratulations to you, Carl, for taking that.
Well, you said something you said something that a moment ago I don't want it to get lost. You know, it's a personal development plan with personal development program with a compensation plan. What we learn about ourselves and how we develop in this business, which I had for the longest time held disdain for it. I didn't want anyone talking to me about multi-level marketing. You say that, I think Amway, and you're gone. I will not give you 2 more minutes of my time. But you approached me and said, this is an incredible advanced technology product with photolight therapy that has not been done by anybody. And it's breaking on all fronts in so many different countries in the world. And I said, well, I got to hear this. And we didn't even talk about the business. We talked about the amazing product. And you know, and I know that to have something, to do something, to have a business, you got to have a product or service that people want. You can't just come up and say, I sell widgets. I don't know what they're for, but would you like to buy one? No. What's in it for me? How does it work? I was just amazed by the technology of this product, because I know it did something for you, and you told me your story back then. I don't know if you want to take a couple of minutes and talk about it now because it was compelling.
Well, the first part is belief, and belief by itself will not catapult you to the level you need to go, but it's a starting point. And my first experience of network marketing was so dismal. I mean, it was like going to this party, and then it broke out to be drawing circles on a whiteboard, and it was an Amway presentation. Not that I have any problem with Amway, the company, but it was the shady style of some of these salespeople, as you put it out, to deceive you, invite you to a party, and then all they break out, and it's a circle drawing meeting, and I scratch my head, and I'm like, wow, that couldn't be, that can't be, that can't be right. You can't duplicate that. I could never duplicate that. So the system that we have here is so amazingly duplicatable. And I shared my story with Carl. It was very simple. I had a stroke back in Canada. I used to be an avid gardener, and I just had a stroke. And bottom line is my right side was really, really not well, to say the least. And I had tried everything, and I discovered these patches. I learned about them a year before I even took the initiative, and I just dismissed it as, that's just something that I don't, salesman talking. And then
The guy that approached you, how many times did you turn him down? He's a mutual friend of ours now and an unbelievable guy, but you turned him down a lot of times.
Yeah, I didn't have the time. I didn't have the bandwidth. And you know what? That's why timing has to be everything. He knew I was in so much pain. He said, Pete, what have you got to lose? What if they work? And I put that patch on my right wrist and on my right leg, and I was shocked at the results of this phototherapy. So it just goes to show that until you try a new thing out there, just because you haven't heard of it doesn't mean it's not real. And I had such amazing results that Carl and I, that's all we talked about for an hour, literally, because he had heard of my story and I had heard of his, and I knew he had a truck driver, he had some back issues, and there's different things going on with these truck drivers. So I knew the product might resonate well with him, but I would only accomplish that by asking the question and getting Carl engaged. We didn't talk about money. We didn't talk about how to make $1 million. We did none of that. It was just focused around the product. And that's what I love about LifeWave. It's so unique. It has zero competition, ladies and gentlemen. It's so different. And we're not trying to pitch you right now. We're just sharing a story that is so heartfelt, and that so many people are experiencing this photobiomodulation therapy, light therapy that goes in, expresses 4,000 plus genes in your body, and just does miracles as you hydrate. So, and I know you've experienced it as well, Carl, and you've enjoyed it. So
Yeah.
it's
No,
a phenomenal method
it's
of
been
information.
amazing, like recently going to my doctor, having to complete my CDL, which is requirement every year as you cross the 60-yard line in life. And the doctor saying, wow, your blood pressure is that of a young man. And I said, well, that's good to know. And then the optical test, which you have to also do, my vision improved from last year to this year. And that's all, running parallel to the issue of money making. So what we have here is, we have an incredible product in a unique market position. It's proprietary, patented, protected, and available in more than 80 countries around the world. And the buy-in isn't a buy-in. You don't have to come up with an extraordinary amount of money to get this. You just have to come in at the level you can afford. So when we're talking money makers, LifeWave is truly an opportunity to make money, not only just with the product, but with the element of leverage time. How do you explain leverage time, Pete? I think you touched on it earlier, but let's talk about that for a minute, because that's a powerful tool that I only learned a few years ago.
Yeah, leveraging your time is something that is so absolutely brilliant, because no matter how you slice it or dice it, when you're working, you've got X amount of hours a day, you sleep 8, 10, whatever you do, but how do you get more time out? Well, duplication. Network marketing is the answer, because now you can go out and you can apply your own energy, your own efforts, and you can go out. It's like a CEO of a company going out and hiring 10 salespeople, not having to pay them a wage at all, but they have a vested interest in building the business, helping people that have health concerns or whatever. And now all of a sudden you've leveraged yourself on a ratio of 1 So let's say you bring 2 people in, you ratio yourself 1 to 2. You bring 5 in, ratio 1 to 5. Bring 10 in, 1 to 10. You get the math. It's real simple. So we're in 80 countries, as Carl said. So while I'm sleeping, the network in the Philippines or in whatever country I'm in, Australia, UK, wherever, I'm sleeping, they're working. I've got myself leveraged in this way. And being a digital nomad, I travel. I love to be where it's warm. So I'm where I'm loving to be. And you can only do that if you find a way to leverage yourself this way. And network marketing is definitely the answer, as long as it resonates with you and you are comfortable and you got a story, a product testimony that is real. No one can take that away from you, Carl. So that's the magical thing about
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely true. I referenced my father at the beginning part, an immigrant coming to this country and wanting to provide the most and the best he could for his family, but he couldn't add any more hours to the day than you and I can. The concept of leverage time, I don't even think had been created yet, but possibly back there in 1954, it was being talked about. But today we know. And today in this market, as we talk about people that are having too much month left at the end of their money, how can they do that? Can they work more hours? Can they work any more hours and then have something left to go work a second job? And what about family? What about sleeping and eating and the basics of life? No, the answer is to leverage your time to other people. And we offer LifeWave, and there are other companies out there, you know them, Pete, you could name them, that may be as good, but none as good as LifeWave. But LifeWave has truly been, what I admire about it is the community of people, the authenticity of it, the sincerity of it, the fact that we can help people achieve and reclaim their health. What an incredible opportunity.
Yeah, Carl, it's done so much for so many people around the world. And back to the leveraging aspect, I mean, once you have yourself leveraged in that capacity and your story starts viraling out, let's say you're on social media, let's say you can't picture yourself doing what I did in the beginning. When I went full-time in network marketing, I went and knocked doors. Do you know how intimidating that is for some people? My friend in Winkler said, I'm going to do what you do. And he went and knocked 6 doors and 6 of them all said no. And he says, I'm done. This is not for me. So it may not be for you. It may scare the bejeez out of you. But, networking via social media is very, very powerful. And those that are watching this podcast via a social media platform, think of putting yourself and your message, your story in front of the camera, as Carl's doing here, and that story resonates with someone, an audience, and they start sharing it, and it starts spiraling out there, and you are the beneficiary of all of these results that could potentially come back. They're happy, they're helping, it's helping them, and you're fulfilling a need, and now you are in a place where you go to sleep and you wake up in the morning and you had more money in your account than when you went to bed. That is a beautiful thing. And when you have that with a legacy company that's been around 20 years, like LifeWave, legacy, and you have a residual component like that, the sky's the limit, ladies and gentlemen, of what you can do. You can rediscover yourself completely and find a whole new way, but you do it systematically and gradually, not inch by inch to cinch. By the yard, it's hard. So as Carl said, we don't encourage you to leave your job and say, that's it, I'm going into network marketing. It's not wise. You start off by the inch and you see how the shoe fits and you work it from there.
What's really important, as we all know, we're living in a .com world where companies come on the market, you can invest, put your money in and lose it all in a moment. There have been people that have ventured all kinds of money into companies that have folded just as fast as they came on the market. But you mentioned legacy company. That's an important marker in the history of LifeWave. LifeWave in 2024 is celebrating its 20th year in business. And that is a very significant milestone in any company. But beyond the product, beyond the business side, the company offers incredible incentive trips like the one that's being offered right now for the next 17 weeks. I mean, you've been in companies before that have come and gone. But have you ever seen a company like LifeWave that does so much for the people that are part of it?
Well, Carl, even brand new brand partners that just gotten active with LifeWave recently. We're on the most recent trip here in Cancun, Mexico, and that's the beautiful thing about Punta Cana, the Dominican Republic. There are so many ways that you can qualify for this trip. We're not going to go into that. We're not selling a trip here, but you know what? The reality is, if you desire vacation, there's not enough money for a beautiful luxury vacation. What about earning it? What about getting involved in something that you can set a goal, set a target, 4 months to earn this trip? At the same time, you're going to earn an income. You're going to rediscover yourself. How bad would that be? Rewarding yourself and your loved ones with an all expense paid vacation to Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, and that's just one of many trips. There's actually on this trip no ceiling on how many people can go. Again, just highlighting, if you're looking for things that'll make you money, companies that are worth hitching your wagon to, products or services that have tangible, real benefit to people, I'm going to suggest LifeWave every time, because for me, I love the smiles that I see on people's face, and I like looking in my back office and seeing that money coming in every week. So just again, as we are on the bottom of our time here, give us your overall impression after that many years of being in this business. What would you say to people that are still kicking the tires and thinking about it?
Well, people that are still doing the same thing and expecting different results, I call that the definition of insanity. If you're not happy in your environment and you're doing this because you're forced to do what you have to do to put food on the table, you need to rediscover yourself and just look deep into the mirror and just say, you know what, I can do better than this. I know I can accomplish more, but it takes guts to get out of the ruts. You have to be willing to make a few small sacrifices, invest in yourself, as any successful entrepreneur has ever done that has made a transition, a shift, and things will come to you. There's so many blessings that will be bestowed upon you. It is absolutely mind-numbing what can happen if you believe. And in this case, we're going to leave you with a little link here. Just liveyounger.com. I share it with everybody. I'm talking out to someone on the beach. It doesn't matter where it is. I say, if you're having difficulties with your health or you're not feeling the greatest, you should look at this legacy company. Or I ask them, would you look at it? Would you watch a 2-minute video on liveyounger.com? And I send them there. Once you watch the video, call me or allow me to call you. And let's have a conversation. That habit can change your life. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm just going to throw that up here.
And I know you.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for suggesting that. And this is the banner. Sorry, it's not coming up right now. There it is. liveyounger.com is where you can go to connect in an informative link. And I encourage you to get back to Pete Redekop, and you can do that by contacting me. And you'll also be doing that as Pete Redekop shares this out to his people. We're simply here to say there are options. There are, that's the word, options for you. If you're looking at your job and seeing the end from now, you don't want to see the end. You want to see blue sky, opportunity, and at some point, maybe slow down. I don't believe in retirement, actually, because I think we're going to have too much fun with LifeWave to think about retirement. But I want to thank you, Pete, for coming on and sharing your heart and your journey in this whole area. It's been wonderful to hear from you. I think people are going to be blessed and encouraged from what you said.
Well, you're welcome, Carl. And in closing, I would just like to share with your audience, our audience here, the words that changed my life when I was at that pivotal stage in my life where I wanted to make the change, but I didn't know for sure if I had it within me to do it. And my mentor, and that's my first word of advice, get a mentor, whoever that may be, find a mentor. And my mentor said to me these golden words, and these words have stuck with me for 30 plus years. And he said to me, when I wanted to go full time in the networking industry, he said to me, Pete, whatever your mind can conceive and believe, it will achieve. those words never, ever left me to this day. And that was the pivotal moment that I gathered the courage and said, I can do this. You believe in yourself. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining
Absolutely.
us.
Pleasure is all mine, and our viewers, thank you. I'll join you backstage in just a moment with a few closing comments here. So once again, Moneymakers goes off Monday at 7 p.m. and you've just been listening to a colleague of mine and a friend and someone who's involved in LifeWave. And we're here to tell you there are options. We don't want you to believe for a moment that it's just for a few people to do. Our business and the business of doing this business is that anybody can do it. It's not for everybody, but anybody can do it. And it doesn't matter what your education is. LifeWave, the company, has a wonderful back office area that will equip you with everything you need to succeed. The tools are all there. And in LifeWave, we believe that we're always pointing to tools. We want to help you make those ends meet. LifeWave is certainly one of those areas. So look forward to seeing you once again here next Monday at 7 p.m. on Money Makers, because you know what? Money making, yeah, that's something that matters for sure. God bless you all wherever you are.